Africa has had a weird relationship with Rwanda for quite some time. This started way back in 2013 when a man called Patrick Karegeya was assassinated. Who was Patrick Karegeya? Patrick Karegeya was a Rwandan former head of external intelligence, right? External intelligence meant that he was in charge of making sure that, other foreign countries are not coming to infiltrate, making sure that there's no threats from other foreign countries. So Patrick Karegeya served under Paul Kagame, the current president of Rwanda, from 1994 to 2004. And during his term as, head of external intelligence, he saw some things he didn't like about the way Kagame was doing his things. And he wanted to criticize Kagame, but Kagame then found him as being insubordinate. And what did Kagame do? He threw Patrick Karegeya into jail. For 3 years he was in jail, and immediately once he got out of jail in 2007, he fled the country and he came to South Africa seeking an asylum, which he was granted by the South African government. Whilst he was here in South Africa, he started his own political party, the Rwanda National Congress. I don't know if it's still there, but he started that party here in South Africa whilst he was here in exile. And he also continued to criticize Kagame for the way he was doing things and the way he was operating. Now, I'm pretty sure you can assume that Paul Kagame was not too happy about being criticized by Patrick Karegeya, and intelligence was now floating around that Paul Kagame was plotting on a way of assassinating Patrick. Now, that intelligence seemed verifiable when there was an assassination attempt on a man called Kayumba Nyamwasa, a former general of the Rwandan government. He came to South Africa also, seeking an asylum. He fled from Rwanda and, started doing the same thing what Patrick Karegeya was doing, criticizing Paul Kagame, criticizing the way things were run because, he also served under Paul Kagame. There's no evidence to support that Paul Kagame is the one who actually had this assassination attempt done. But it did raise concerns, especially for Patrick Karegeya. He saw this and his security team saw this and were like, you know what? There's a genuine threat on Patrick Karegeya's life now. But unfortunately, only 3 years after the assassination attempt on Kayumba Nyamwasa, Patrick Karegeya was found unalived in his hotel room in Johannesburg. He was lured into a meeting. I don't know what type of meeting it was. He was lured into a meeting and he was found strangled to death in his hotel room. There's no evidence to show that Paul Kagame was the one who issued out this assassination. However, 12 days after this event, Paul Kagame comes out and he says, you cannot betray Rwanda and live a good life. People are like, huh? South African government is listening and they're like, what did you say? And then the National Defense Minister, James Kabarebe, comes out and says, if you want to live like a dog, you're going to die like a dog. 12 days after this assassination of Patrick Karegeya. And South Africa is like, something's fishy here. Now, eventually, the South African government was like, nah, all Rwandan diplomats, you guys can go because we don't trust any of you. That's what the South African government basically were doing by, expelling all the Rwandan diplomats. Listen, a Rwandan diplomat is not someone that just comes from Rwanda. Like a diplomat is someone who is there to kind of like negotiate on behalf of, the Rwandan government and, just enhance relationships between the two countries. So South Africa was like, no, we don't trust any of your diplomats because they could have been involved in the assassination. So South Africa expelled all of them. And Rwandan, obviously, they got pissed off and they also expelled all the South African diplomats from Rwanda. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the beef started. We can't always blame the West on things. I'm going back to your comment. I'm sorry, it took me long to actually connect to your comment. We can't always blame the West. Sometimes the West just sits and does this and watches us fight each other without any of their involvement. They already did their damage with colonization. Whatever we do with fighting with each other has got very little to do with what the West does to us as people. Like that, I've given you the context. Every once in a while, listen, there was a time where, I think it was 2 years ago, 1 year ago, where there was a picture of President Paul Kagame with President Cyril Ramaphosa, and people assumed that, maybe things are seeming okay. But listen, if those 13 soldiers that were murdered, right, in DRC, if Rwanda played any part in that, it's going to be difficult to see if any relationship is going to be salvaged, because that is real serious, guys.